Hello students, friends and my dear colleagues. A warm welcome to the channel Tax Edo. So our topic is value of supply. It is a particular chapter in GST. So in this chapter we have section 15 of the CGST Act and chapter 4 of CGST rules. They contain provisions for determining the value of supply of goods and services. So if you have watched my previous video in which I have discussed section 15 subsection 1 and subsection 2. So just go to my YouTube channel Tax Edo and you will get a playlist there named Time and Value of Supply. In that, the very first video I have explained these two sections. So in this video I am going to explain and discuss section 15 subsection 3, which is all about exclusion of discounts from the value. So let's go ahead. So let's understand exclusion of discounts from value, which is contained in section 15 subsection 3. There are many types of discounts given by the suppliers to their customers, which are as follows: trade discounts, cash discounts, quantity or volume or performance discounts and many more. ये list exhaustive नहीं है, it is an inclusive list. So these discounts are reduced from the sale price of the supply. Suppose if the selling price is 100 rupees and discount is rupees 30, so the value of taxable supply will be rupees 70. But the value of taxable supply is the transaction value. If you have watched my previous video, I have clearly explained that as per section 15 subsection 1, value of taxable supply is a transaction value. So from this transaction value you have to deduct the discount and then charge GST on it. GST is levied or charged on the value after deducting the discounts. But are all types of discounts offered by the supplier allowed as deduction while calculating the value of supply? क्या सारे discounts हमें deduction मिल जाते हैं to calculate the value of taxable supply? No, we cannot get deduction for all types of discounts. So let's understand for which discounts we can claim deduction and for which discounts we cannot claim deduction. Let's go ahead. So let's understand discounts which are allowed as deduction from the value of supply. Discounts which are allowed as deduction are divided in two parts. One is discounts given before or at the time of supply and the other is post supply discounts. So let's understand the first one. Discounts given before or at the time of supply and shown in the invoice. इसका मतलब डिस्काउंट जो हम लोग सप्लाई करने के टाइम प्रोवाइड करते हैं एंड वो डिस्काउंट हमारा इनवॉइस में मेंशन है. सो दिस डिस्काउंट्स आर अलाउड एज डिडक्शन. जीएसटी इज चार्ज ऑन ग्रॉस वैल्यू माइनस डिस्काउंट. सो दिस डिस्काउंट्स आर ऑलवेज अलाउड एज डिडक्शन इफ इट्स प्रोवाइडेड बिफोर और एट द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई एंड इट्स मेंशन ऑन द इनवॉइस. नाउ लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड पोस्ट सप्लाई डिस्काउंट्स विच आर अलाउड आफ्टर सप्लाई इज मेड. सप्लायर ये डिस्काउंट प्रोवाइड करता है सप्लाई करने के बाद. सो दिस डिस्काउंट्स आर अलाउड एज डिडक्शन ओनली इफ दे सेटिस्फाई द कंडीशंस प्रिस्क्राइब्ड इन सेक्शन 15 subsection 3, which I am going to discuss and explain you in next page. However, let's explain you in more detail discounts given before or at the time of supply with the help of one example. So let's look at this example. Royal Soap Company gives a discount of 30% on the list price to its distributors. Thus, for a carton of soap in the invoice, the list price is mentioned as rupees 200, on which a discount of 30% is given to arrive at the final price of rupees 140. So, इस एग्जाम्पल में हम आपका लिस्ट प्राइस जो सप्लाई प्रोवाइड कर रहा है 200 है और वो डिस्काउंट प्रोवाइड कर रहा है एट द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई 30%. वो इनवॉइस में भी मेंशन करेगा ये डिस्काउंट. So this discount will be allowed as deduction. Yes, this discount will be allowed as deduction and the value of taxable supply will be rupees 140 since the discount is allowed at the time of supply and shown in the invoice. I hope it is clear to you. Now let's understand post supply discounts. So let's look at examples of post supply discounts. The first one is cash discount given for making the payment within a stipulated period of time. तो अगर एक सप्लायर कस्टमर को कैश डिस्काउंट देता है on the condition that if he makes payment within 30 days or 40 days. So this is obviously a post supply discount which is offered after supply is made and if a customer makes a payment within a stipulated period of time. Second example of post supply discount I have given is quantity, volume or performance discount. If a supplier tells a customer that if you purchase 1000 pieces by the end of the year, I will give you 5% discount. So these discounts though exist in the agreement before or at the time of supply, the supplier can not record this discount in the invoice as the supplier is not aware before or at the time of making supply whether the buyer would make the payment within the stipulated time or whether the buyer would purchase the requisite quantity within the stipulated time. So cash discount, quantity, volume or performance discount are examples are post supply discounts which may exist in agreement at a time of supply, but it's not possible for supplier to record them in invoice because supplier is not aware whether the buyer would make payment within a stipulated period of time or whether the buyer would purchase the requisite quantity within a stipulated period of time. So these are post supply discounts which are allowed as deduction only if they satisfy the conditions of section 15 subsection 3. These conditions are as follows. Discount is in terms of an agreement that existed at the time of supply and can be worked out invoice wise. इसका मतलब at the time of supply this discount should be present in the agreement. Though it cannot be shown in the invoice, in agreement it should be present at the time of supply and can be worked out invoice wise. That means it's possible to link a discount to a relevant invoice. And the second condition is proportionate input tax credit is reversed by the recipient of supply. Recipient of supply का मतलब buyer या customer. He has to reverse the input tax credit on that discount amount. So the input tax credit on discount amount has to be reversed by the buyer, which will reduce supplier's output tax liability by the same amount. So let's now understand how to deal with post supply discounts when the conditions of section 15 subsection 3 are met, and the other one is when the conditions of section 15 subsection 3 are not met. So first look into when the conditions of section 15 subsection 3 are met. Since it is a post supply discounts, the supplier will charge GST on the gross amount without considering discount. For example, gross amount is rupees 2000. GST at the rate of 18% on rupees 2000 is rupees 360. So the supplier will charge rupees 2360 from the customer. So as I mentioned, conditions of section 15 subsection 3 are met. So in this transaction of supply, 10% of cash discount existed in the agreement. So it's a post supply discount. If a customer makes payment within a stipulated period of time, the supplier will provide discount of 10%. So the supplier, how the supplier will pass the discount? The supplier can pass a discount to the buyer by issuing credit note. So when the conditions of section 15 subsection 3 are met, the supplier can pass the discount by issuing credit note. Of what value based on this example do you think the supplier will issue credit note? Credit note of rupees 236, which includes rupees 200 discount, which is 10% of 2000, and rupees 36 GST, proportionate GST, which is 18% of rupees 200. The supplier will issue credit note of rupees 236 to the buyer, that is recipient of supply. After receiving credit note, the buyer will reverse proportionate input tax credit of rupees 36, which is 18% of 200. This will reduce the output tax liability of the supplier by rupees 36. So when the conditions of section 15 subsection 3 are met, what were the conditions? The discount should exist in the agreement at the time of supply and it can be worked out invoice wise, and the proportionate input tax credit has to be reversed by the recipient of the supply. So these were the conditions. So in case of discount which is a post supplier discount. If the conditions are met, the supplier can pass the discount subsequently by issuing credit note. However, how to deal with post supplier discounts if the conditions of section 15 subsection 3 are not met? So, if the conditions are not satisfied, remember the GST liability of the supplier cannot be reduced and the buyer has not to reverse the proportionate input tax credit. Remember that. So, initially the supplier will charge GST on the gross amount. Later on the supplier can pass a discount by issue commercial credit note, but just for the discount amount, which is rupees 200, that is 10% of rupees 2000. However, the supplier's output tax liability will not be reduced and buyer is not required to reverse the proportionate input tax credit. I hope it is clear to you now. Let's move ahead. So now I will explain you certain specific types of discounts offered by the suppliers and their allowability. So first one is staggered discounts. So what do you mean by staggered discounts? Tell me. So it is a rate of discount which increases with increase in purchase volume. For example, if you buy 2 balls, I will give you 10% discount, but if you buy 3, you will get 20% discount. It's like buy more, save more offers, like on purchase above rupees 5,000, 10% discount, on purchase above rupees 10,000, 20% discount, etc. So since these discounts are shown in the invoice, are mentioned in the invoice, therefore they will allowed as deduction to calculate the taxable value of supply. I hope it's clear to you. The second one is periodic or year-ending discounts or volume discounts. It is actually a post-supply discount. These discounts are offered by the supplier to their stockist generally. For example, get additional discount of 1% if you purchase 10,000 pieces in a year. Get additional discount of 2% if you purchase 15,000 pieces in a year. So these discounts are post-supply discounts which get determined after the supply has been done. So to avail deduction for post-supply discount, the conditions of section 15 subsection 3 should be satisfied. So what are the conditions? It should be present in the agreement. It's possible to work out the discount amount invoice-wise, and the proportionate input tax credit has to be reversed by the buyer, which will reduce the output tax liability of the supplier by the same amount. However, if the conditions are not satisfied and still the supplier wants to pass the discount, simply for the discount amount the supplier can issue commercial credit note. So it was same what I discussed before. So let's understand the third one. The third one is secondary discounts. These are discounts which are not known at the time of supply. That means it didn't exist in the agreement at the time of supply. Agreement में exist नहीं था. Or are offered after the supply is already over. For example, Mrs. A supplies 10,000 packets of biscuits to Mrs. B at rupees 10 per packet. Afterwards, Ms. A revalues it at rupees 9 per packet. सप्लाई हो गया है, उसके बाद वो उसको रिवैल्यू कर रहा है रुपीज़ 9 में. इसका मतलब ₹1 डिस्काउंट per packet has to be provided at rupees 10,000. This discount cannot be claimed as deduction because the conditions of section 15 subsection 3 are not fulfilled. The discount didn't exist in the agreement at the time of supply. It's a post supply discount, so condition has to be made. However, just to pass the discount, the supplier can issue commercial credit note to the buyer. However, it will not impact the GST. The buyer will not reverse the proportionate input tax credit, and nor it will reduce the output tax liability of the supplier. Just for a discount amount, the supplier can issue commercial credit note. So here I end up my discussion on topic exclusion of discounts from the value of supply. I guarantee you, if you watch my video, you will be covering and understanding each and every relevant points on this topic. You can solve any question on this topic. You can also download the content using the link given in the description box below. So please watch my video and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you.